right, good morning everyone. I hope you're having a good time on the tour. So we're not standing directly in front of the trial, it's a little over there, but today I'm going to talk about phosphorus fertilizer rate response in irrigated dry bean. We'll go first into a little bit of the background of dry beans and why they work well under irrigation. So one of the advantages of irrigation is a greater opportunity for crop diversification with high value crops. So dry beans are a high value crop that does well under irrigation due to their higher water demand and allows for increased rotation options. So some of the common market classes for dry beans that are grown in Western Canada are your pinto, navy, and black beans. Dry beans can be seeded in a wide row, which is about 22 to 36 inches apart, or a narrow row, which is about 6 to 12 inches apart. In narrow row production, existing equipment you already have on farm can be lightly modified for dry bean production if you wanted to. So it allows for a good crop to kind of touch into diversification options and get started there. Most of the dry bean production in Saskatchewan does occur in the Lake Diefenbaker development area, with about 4,500 acres of dry beans being grown in that area, compared to provincially it's about 10,000 acres. So it's a pretty good sector of dry beans around here. Dry beans are typically used as food, so that's why they are considered a high value crop. You can use them for livestock feed, but it often requires additional processing and it's just not timely for producers, so not typically used for that. The focus on phosphorus fertilizer for this trial is because phosphorus fertilizer can be a little bit more difficult to manage in field, and historically prairie farmers have been applying limited amounts of phosphorus fertilizer due to cost, and the rates that are applied have typically been below the amount that's being removed with the crop. For producers, it is important to refine your phosphorus requirements for crops such as dry beans, so improved nutrient management techniques can be used, but producers can have another option for crop rotation and increase their opportunities for crop diversification while at the same time minimizing their costs. So the phosphorus fertilizer rate trial is a 3-year trial that's funded by the Strategic Field Program. We are evaluating pinto beans, which are large seed beans, and black beans, which are small seeded beans. So we're applying rates of P2O5 at 0, and then we have 15, 30, and 45 kg per hectare, and those are seed placed and side banded. And then we have our 60 kg per hectare, which is just side banded. This trial is collecting data on residual nutrients, emergence, disease ratings, days to maturity, grain, yield, and test weight. This trial also promotes healthy soil by promotalizing proper fertilizer amounts and reducing phosphorus mining in the soil as well. These results will benefit Saskatchewan producers by determining the right amount of fertilizer along with the right rate and the right place, which is in line with the 4R nutrient stewardship principles. This trial will also work on improving practices for 2 of Saskatchewan's growth plan goals, which are improving the agriculture sector's long-term resiliency and increasing crop production to 45 metric tons. Based on the preliminary results, we have seen that the phosphorus fertilizer rate to optimize dry bean grain yield differed according to the placement method, which seed placed applications being optimized at about 30 kg per hectare and the side banded was about 45 kg per hectare. And this will be confirmed at the end of the season. This is the last year for the trial, so we'll do a final report and summarize all the results at the end of the year.
So what you see behind me here is our Faba Bean seeding rate study. This is one of 3 seeding rate studies that we've done in the province. This one here is under irrigation. The other 2 are located at Melfort and Indian Head. Those are done under dry land conditions. So the main goal of this project is to find the optimal seeding rate for Faba beans. The varieties we've used here are Fable, Allison, CDC 1142, and CDC 1089. We are using Snowbird as our check variety. So you can't quite see the Fable and Snowbird, but if you see right behind me here, we have Allison at 30 seeds per meter squared, Allison at 45, Allison at 60, or sorry, this is our Allison at 60, 45, 30, and along here is our CDC varieties. So you can probably tell from where you're sitting that we're noticing some pretty apparent differences in terms of height and plant densities. Across our sites, at our 30 seeds per meter squared, we're seeing, as we would expect, lower plant densities as we do in our 45 and 60. But when we get up to that 45 and 60 seeding rate, we're not seeing too much significant differences in our plant density. These are what are considered low vicine and convicine varieties. So for those of you unfamiliar, that is an anti-nutrient that is naturally occurring in faba beans, something that is not desirable for feed processors or protein processors. So the low vicine and convicine varieties are typically what feed and protein processors are looking for and will typically command a more premium price. So as I mentioned, our study involves 3 different seeding rates of 30, 45, and 60 seeds per square meter. 45, of course, being the recommended seeding rate. So what we're seeing in terms of maturity is that on average, faba beans under irrigation matured about 10 to 18 days later than under dryland conditions. The Indian Head site saw the earliest maturity at 99 days compared to Outlook, which was about 117. Across all sites, Snowbird was the earliest maturing, while CDC 1142 was the latest maturing. Under dryland conditions, we saw maturity about 4 to 5 days later than Snowbird, and on this site here it was about 10 days later. In terms of yield, we generally saw significant increases in yield at our higher rates at 45 and 60, but up at these rates, no significant differences between 45 and 60. So it would suggest that at the recommended rate of 45 seeds per meter squared, you're hitting right on target without having to put down additional seed. So yeah, I guess some of the yield data. Under irrigation, our best plots here were at about 85 bushels an acre. Melfort, typically about 64, and the lowest it was at Indian Head at 38. Fable and Allison varieties were the highest yielding at all sites, averaging 93 bushels an acre at Outlook, 75 at Melfort, and 42 at Indian Head. Across the board, CDC 1142, which is these 3 right here, this was our lowest yielding variety across all sites and typically had some of the poorest emergence relative to the other varieties. So for those of you who don't grow a lot of faba beans, they can be an excellent option as a pulse in your rotation, particularly for fields that are struggling with root rot disease or Ascochyta phenomyces. These plants are much less susceptible to those diseases than peas and lentils and are an excellent option if you're trying to break those disease cycles. Excuse me. This project was funded through Strategic Field Program and SAS Pulse Growers. Thank you.